It's really important to have that sort of differentiation because it creates further robustness and further protection against malicious or even incidental issues. And so our role as liquid staking protocols is to promote that, and at the same time help to drive staking in a way that's beneficial to the blockchain and also beneficial to the actual stakers themselves and the broader DeFi ecosystem. And that's partly why liquid staking is so powerful and has shown such strong product market fit, because in addition to earning staking rewards, people can also earn additional rewards because the staking derivative itself is now the collateral of choice for DeFi. And so Swell Network's core thesis is that we want to provide the staking rewards in the sort of the highest yield possible with the most transparency that's fully non-custodial, in a way that was also tapping into and making it real easy for users to get all the benefits of DeFi to the sort of risk profile that he or she wants.
Welcome to Mission DeFi with Brad Nickel, where we explore projects in decentralized finance that are innovating and driving our mission of financial freedom forward. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, and review Mission DeFi and spread the word by posting a tweet to the show. All opinions expressed by Brad Nickel or his guests are their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Black Knox, Material Indicators, or any other affiliated organizations. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Brad Nickel or his guests as an inducement to make a particular investment, follow a particular strategy, or become involved with any project. A project being featured on the show is not an endorsement of that project in any way. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Now, here's Mission DeFi with Brad Nickel.
So I'm excited today to welcome the team from Swell Network, because I think Swell is solving a problem in the space in a number of ways. They are an ETH staking protocol or platform. And today I have with me the core team of that project, Bailey Gable, Lecky Lau, and Daniel Dizon. And welcome, guys. Really glad to have you here.
Thanks, Brad. Great.
Why don't we get started with some introductions? So let's start with Daniel. And Daniel, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from, what you're comfortable disclosing, and then how you ended up in the crypto DeFi world and why.
Yeah, definitely. So my name's Daniel. I'm the co-founder and CEO for Swell Network. My background's been a mix of finance, technology, and innovation. Really, what drew me to DeFi initially was really the beauty of the technology and the philosophy around it all. So I've always been passionate from a user perspective and from a sort of a perspective around the sort of implications that this would have socially, culturally, financially, to the core principles of individual self-sovereignty, freedom, and these sorts of core principles. And then, so as regards my background, more specifically, prior to this was a Web2 founder, and then also did some corporate advisory to government, both in the UK and here in Australia, where I'm currently based. And then more specifically with Swell Network, what we're looking to do is we're looking to deliver the next generation of staking. Our core focus for this year will be on Ethereum staking. We're ushering in what we're terming to be staking 2.0. So we have a lot of special things for the ecosystem that is really tapping into what stakers want, what node operator wants, and ultimately what's going to be healthy and beneficial for the ecosystem overall over the short, medium, and long term. So yeah, I'll pause to introduce himself too, and then pass it on to Bailey.
Cool.
Yeah, my name is Lecky Lau, the CTO and co-founder for Swell Network. Myself, more on the software side, has been doing engineering for more than 10 years. Has been traditional IT company like IBM, Telstra, Fujitsu, also being a serial entrepreneur since 2016. Joined the DeFi and more hands-on the smart contract development that has been work for InstaDev, DHedge, and Synthetics. As we started the Swell Network as a side experimental project early 2020, and we have launched our proof of concept aligned with the Beacon Chain launch at end of 2020, which proved that we can run the validator as low as 1 Ether and then other 31 Ether from the public pools. Since then, we have been through multiple iterations that currently we are on testnet, have done 5 audit reports aiming to have moved currently on the Kaleido private EVM testnet. We're planning to move to the next public testnet like Goli or Kilint, and then we will launch to the mainnet, and also have our next version of ERC 4626 Wild. Also got to audit report for it. And then in another month time, and then Swell Network integration in the second half year, and then going cross-chain next year. So that's some high level on the product roadmap. I'll pass to Bailey.
Yeah, my name's Bailey, or some may know me as Fosto on crypto Twitter. And yeah, basically I am the head of growth, and my background is fully crypto native. So my entire kind of adult life I just been part of crypto. I discovered Ethereum back in 2018 in college, just as like different hackathons. And so just the concept of DeFi coming from a lower class family just really killed me on how that can really be helpful for the little guy. And yeah, ever since then I've been a believer and been really interested in the space and contributed to DeFi protocols and DAOs in the past. And I feel like I found a protocol that I really just want to give my all to long term with Swell. And yeah, I'm just really excited to help us grow and integrate within the best of DeFi and just become like a de facto DeFi platform.
That's great. That's great. Lecky, how did you get involved in crypto? Was it something where you discovered it on your own, or did it come from?
Yeah, basically 2016, I quit my job from Telstra and then started to do some entrepreneur. And that's how I met Daniel back in co-working space. And then we're both running our own startups at that moment. And then, yeah. And as got more free time, so started to look into the crypto world since then, and has been a DGen since then. And I have like a DGen score, like a top 100. Not anymore, but yeah, it used to be with one single wallet. Now I have more wallets. Yeah, since then to touch on more from the DeFi 1.0 and then and getting excited from since then. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. I love that. I think you're my first DGen 100 wallet score on the show. So congratulations, man. That's great. That's great. I hope you sold. So I'm getting that Lecky and Daniel both had their own startups and you guys met in a co-working space. I got that part of it. Were you both into crypto when you met and you just kind of hit it off and said, hey, let's create something? Or was it more, tell me the origin story, really how this thing came about?
Yeah, definitely. So Lucky and I have been friends since sort of 2016, 2017, really in the same sort of startup community. And the reason why we bonded was the fact that we were really only the two founders that were staying super late. And so it'd be, the lights would be off and, we'd be going to the fridge at the same. I was like, what are you doing here? Okay. But yeah, we were definitely focusing on different verticals at the time. It wasn't necessarily crypto startups. There were different startups, but by the same token, I think we were both aligned to the core principles of blockchain, crypto, DeFi, etc. The true genesis story of Swell Network actually came out of Lecky. So essentially, it was a side project from Lecky. And feel free to fill in the blanks here. But really, it was a side project, a proof of concept that really was born even with the inception of the Beacon chain from 2020 onwards. And the true sort of proof of concept there was that Lecky was trying to solve a problem for himself, which was around the fact of having all this chops, but not necessarily having the ether to compound and leverage one's talents. And then so the proof of concept there was really the first demonstration of an atomic transaction. And that atomic transaction in practical terms basically means that the user or the staker is a direct depositor into the Beacon chain. And what that enables and affords is a whole suite of benefits that could actually result in the foundation or genesis for something that could be really powerful in liquid staking, particularly as the price of Ethereum starts to grow, and particularly around the underlying design of Ethereum in being able to essentially run consensus on even like with smaller sort of infrastructure. And then from there, it will continue to maintain as a side project. And then at the time I was overseas and then came back to Sydney where I'm currently based. And then Lecky and I reconnected again, and I was watching the space quite closely. And late 2021, we said, let's join forces and let's make this thing as transformative and as game changing as we possibly can. And then from there, we decided to open up a seed round, and then we finalized the seed round and then continue to grow and scale the team. And for us, it was always about trying to bring on board the best possible partners that we could find, because we know that Ethereum staking is beyond the sort of commercial opportunity and the market opportunity. It's actually really important to the underlying principles of Ethereum in maintaining the decentralization and security. And people are already starting to sound the alarm around potential concentration of market actors for whatever reason. And I would say that it's really due to a dearth of real innovation in the space from other competitors. And so we, as conscientious communities of this growing and still nascent overall industry, need to come together and continue to innovate and do it responsibly and conscientiously, while at the same time delivering ultimately what matters, which is a great product experience for our users, which are stakers and node operators.
Awesome. Just to make sure we start at the top for people, can you guys explain why Ethereum staking is important and what it provides to the network, just in brief terms? We don't have to go into a lot of depth, but I just like to make sure that listeners understand going in the parameters of where we're starting, and then we'll climb into the details.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the reason why staking is important is because, particularly for Ethereum, is because Ethereum is going to go to full proof of stake with the merge. And as a result, this will be the primary and exclusive consensus mechanism for the blockchain. And the way that the consensus mechanism works is that essentially people have to put stake, and then they are work through that process. And then ultimately, as regards its connection to security, essentially the issuance from the Ethereum blockchain is really the cost to secure the network. And so the greater the stake is, the greater the economic security is, the harder it would be for a malicious actor to attack the underlying blockchain. And then what's important is, in addition to the economic security, so the value of total ETH stake is also going to be the differentiation of those that are staking. So that's why it's really critical at each layer of diversity, whether that's client diversity, whether that's infrastructural diversity, whether that's geographical diversity, or whether that's diversity in the staking derivatives. It's really important to have that sort of differentiation because it creates further robustness and further protection against malicious or even incidental issues. And so our role as liquid staking protocols is to promote that, and at the same time help to drive staking in a way that's beneficial to the blockchain and also beneficial to the actual stakers themselves and the broader DeFi ecosystem. And that's partly why liquid staking is so powerful and has shown such strong product market fit, because in addition to earning staking rewards, people can also earn additional rewards because the staking derivative itself is now the collateral of choice for DeFi. And so Swell Network's core thesis is that we want to provide the staking rewards in the sort of the highest yield possible with the most transparency that's fully non-custodial, in a way that is also tapping into and making it real easy for users to get all the benefits of DeFi to the sort of risk profile that he or she wants.
That's great. And typically, in order for someone to do this, they either need to use a platform like yours, or they have to go through a fairly technical setup. They have to have technical acumen. They have to set up machines that can handle it, securing the network and staking these tokens. And they have to have, it's 32 ETH is the minimum for a node. And there are rules that govern that. And so the complexity of that makes it so that only a certain set of the community could do it out of the gate. And currently there is one provider providing staking opportunities to people that aren't that technical, but one of the problems is they now dominate a large percentage of the overall nodes that would be staking the networks. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think the whole notion of liquid staking came as a result of firstly trying to harmonize the difference between having to choose between earning staking rewards or participating in DeFi. So that's the liquidity part. The second part was the rise of staking pools, and staking pools themselves can come via centralized or decentralized forms. So at the moment, 10% of ETH is actually staked as compared to circulating supply. That means 90% of ETH is still sitting on the sidelines and waiting. The problem with centralized exchanges, even though they've been absolutely beneficial from an on-ramping standpoint and getting people to essentially, move from fiat into crypto, is that it has, by its design, custodial risk and centralization risk. And so the centralized exchanges are the dominant purveyors of staking at the moment. However, we are seeing a trend towards decentralized staking, and these are a subset is either permissionless or permission staking pools. And so there are protocols around that have, through like innovation and like the evolution of the sector, have come to have a fairly strong position. And overall, what Swell Network is looking to do essentially is to take the best lessons learned from everything that's happened and try to iterate and create a step change improvement. And so what we're doing specifically is, for stakers, we're offering them essentially higher yields, more transparency, and a better UX on one side. And on the other side, which is our node operators, we're enabling them to essentially leverage their ETH and leverage their technical abilities. So they don't need the 32 ETH anymore, because that will be filled in by the demand side of Swell Network. On top of that as well, we're affording them the opportunity to essentially set their own sort of business up, rather than having a situation where they're forced by the protocol to subject to the whims of the protocol. They can actually set, for example, their own commission rate. And by the same token, the
Nice.
stakers can actually choose their own node operator too. Ultimately, for Swell Network, what we want to do is we want to be the protocol infrastructure layer and have the node operators and other businesses, even centralized exchanges, build atop. That way, we can be a base layer for Ethereum staking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So essentially, you'd like to become a protocol that anyone can use to offer staking to others, but people can also access it via Swell Network itself. They'll be able to
Exactly.
utilize it. But I could theoretically build a business around people staking utilizing the Swell Network protocol, which is actually really innovative, and also then spreads the risk of or spreads the security of the network further and amongst more protocols, but also would encourage, in the case of like centralized exchanges, them to actually be utilizing a decentralized protocol, thus making the entire system work better and the entire system more secure.
Yeah, exactly right.
Now, uh, on your website, so that's one of the advantages, obviously, is decentralization. The other advantage is that you guys are combining. So typically, if I use another staking protocol, I can go in and stake my Ethereum, and I receive the derivative token, the token that's my receipt for my deposit for the staking, and I'm earning typically 4 to 4.5% in that range. But you guys are offering out of the gate on the coming soon part of the website 5%. But you guys take that a step further, because the typical model is I come in, I stake at one of these other providers, I take my derivative token, my receipt tokens, and I go to another protocol to utilize an LP position, a yield farming, whatever, and I can earn more on my tokens there. But you guys are putting this all together in one place. Can you guys walk me through how that's functioning, what you're offering, and how that works for the end user?
Yeah, definitely. So the best way to think about it is the returns profile for staking can be thought of in sort of three tranches. The first tranche is the official staking rewards. The second tranche is the DeFi yield. And then the third tranche is MEV. So I'll step through each of those parts. So the base reward from the official staking rate is a fluctuating number. It's really based on the sort of the supply and demand of each state. So at the moment, we'll be close to the 5%. And I think overall, because of our underlying smart contract design, we'll be perhaps the closest in terms of actually materializing the full issuance rate for Ethereum. The reason being is because our smart contract design is such that the staker is actually the direct depositor into the beacon chain. So the rewards, the slashing, and the penalties are bound to the validator. So on average, other providers, what they're doing due to their design is they're actually socializing the slashing and penalties. So it creates a sort of a tragedy of the commons type situation where even if someone else has been poorly performing on the node operator side, you have to bear that cost. It's just
Right.
in the nature of the design, but it's fine. That everyone has to do trade-offs when they're designing liquid staking protocols. But the benefit for that is that your rewards and your sort of slashing penalties are your own. So it has that sort of benefit. And then as regards the second layer is the vaults or the DeFi yield. So the sort of strategies that one could do there is because in addition to minting the staking derivative token, Swell wants to create a better UX by enabling the user to essentially have a stake set and forget experience within the same dApp, but at the same time leveraging all the protocols of DeFi. So essentially, it's a sort of front end abstraction. So to keep it as simple as possible for the user. And then, so the sort of rewards that we'll be, or sort of strategies that we'll be looking at initially, we'll be looking at liquidity provisioning strategies around the dominant sort of Swift to ETH pair, Swift being our staking and derivative counterpart. And then the last part of the rewards is the MEV. Now, it's important to note that the MEV is really at the behest of the node operator. So MEV is currently flowing to the miners at this stage, but in a post-merge situation that will go to the node operators or the validators themselves. Because Swell Network is essentially a marketplace for node operators, we are trying to design a method that creates sort of the game theoretical dynamics for the node operators to flow those returns back to the users. Our thinking on this is that they will, because what we're trying to do is create more transparency and price information around what the returns are going to be. So as part of becoming a node operator on Swell Network, you can choose to share your information. And obviously people want to know what are the returns I'm going to get. And as a result, more and more stakers will select the node operators that are actually being able to capture their MUD efficiently and then distribute that back to the stakers. And so this is a problem that's constantly evolving, and there's a lot of smart people working on the MEV situation, and it seems to be a sort of emergent phenomena of Ethereum itself. So you might have to do like these sorts of experiments, but that's something that's definitely on our mind. And ultimately, we want to adhere to the principles of working groups like Flashbots, which is around making it as transparent as possible, educating the consumer, and creating tools to manage that.
That's And that's unique from everything I've seen in the space because, as you said, nobody's nailed that down yet. But if you're starting to work on it now, that puts you in a much better position of being able to leverage it for the people who are providing staking through Swell. So I think that's a really that seems like a very smart move and not something I'd seen before. So that's great. In terms of so essentially the second layer is utilizing, I'm assuming, LP rewards related to the derivative token and liquidity being provided out in the world. And that's where the second level comes in. And the third level is a combination of all. And the standard staking rewards you would get, plus the LP, plus any MEV protection gains that are coming from node operators. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And just a point on MEV or MEV, it's still estimated. Like it has been as low as a sort of like a 10% boost on top, all the way through to 20% plus. So I think that's an evolving space, but our sort of estimates at the moment are on 10%. But yeah, that will be evolving, but it will be significant, I think.
That's great. From a user perspective, is there a minimum amount that a user will be able to stake on the Swell network, or is it
Yeah,
whatever you have
yeah,
in your wallet?
yeah. At the moment, in the current sort of iteration as well, the minimum stake is 1 ETH, but we are looking to drop that down further as we go along. But it's purely due to the sort of the state of the network at the moment. We want to keep it in batches of at least one, and then we'll look to reduce that over time as we get more volume coming into the network.
Look, currently not a big price tag.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the way Ethereum's going at the moment. So yeah.
so that's and I think that's reasonable. From a perspective of the actual decentralization of the protocol, is this something where you guys are starting this off? I don't know how best to phrase it, but is your vision that this will become a fully decentralized, running on its own functioning protocol, but you have to start at a different place? How does that evolve over time? I'm assuming this is something that has to evolve over time, but maybe I'm wrong.
Brad, you're absolutely. So, out of practical necessity, we are on a path to progressive decentralization. I think at the inception of a protocol, you need people that are going to be quite opinionated and directive around how the protocol will eventually be. But our pathway and our focus has always been to progressively decentralize the protocol. Ultimately, have this thing be community owned, operated, and directed by the various actors in the ecosystem that are required. And this is why we've intentionally designed our strategic partners, for example, to represent those interests that are going to be important for the protocol, whether that's another protocol treasury, whether that's a fund, a crypto fund, or whether that's an institutional node operator, or if it's a smaller node operator, to have all those perspectives come through. And then also to essentially distribute the actual governance token once we do have our token generation event to as many holders as possible, and then have it almost be a situation where the protocol is genuinely representative of the will of that community, and then work our way through that. And there are sort of things that we're discussing internally about how to best achieve that, whilst also having all the benefits of maintaining strong and fast product development with the highest standards of security at the same time. But yeah, in a nutshell, we want to be decentralized, and it's just a practical sort of step through process that we need to go through.
Yeah, look, I think that's required of any protocol. The only protocol I've seen so far that actually start off radically decentralized was Liquidity, and the risks of doing it that way are astronomical. And for something as complex as what you guys are building, I can't imagine that would even be a consideration to launch in that manner. It would be probably a nightmare. So I completely understand that. That's great. In terms of, you mentioned treasuries and institutional, is that a first kind of target for you guys from a biz dev perspective and bringing in clients? Because that's obviously a rich way to build the network, or build the amount that's staked in the network more rapidly, is getting people who already have a ton of ETH sitting around that they're not necessarily utilizing, or that they're not utilizing as efficiently as they could. I would think that something like this would be incredibly attractive to them.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, our initial target market will be people that understand liquid staking, that have ETH, that are long on ETH, and that want to support a protocol like Swell. And then so that translates to protocol treasuries, it translates to crypto native people, and also crypto native funds. And then these sorts of people can be channels into the other sort of broader ETH holders as well. So yeah, that will be our sort of initial focus.
Yeah, I think that's a really smart strategy out of the gate. On the website, you guys mentioned that there's an NFT component of this, and it almost sounded like the NFTs are operating as some kind of vault to hold the derivative tokens, but maybe I just misunderstood that. Can you explain how the NFT fits into this?
Yeah, definitely. So when you stake your Ether, there will be two minting events that happen. So in addition to minting the Swell Ether, which is the staking derivative token, which is a one-to-one receipt, if you will, or redeemable, backed by each Ether on the block on the beacon chain, there's also the NFT. Now, the reason why we have the NFT is because that NFT is made possible via the atomic transaction, and that atomic transaction has the relevant, unique, identifiable information as to which validator your actual Ether is on. And then, so that NFT is essentially the representation of your Ether across the beacon chain network. And then that affords a whole range of other benefits as well. So the design has really been inspired by Uniswap v3. And on top of that NFT being a sort of representation to afford greater transparency, it also enables the node operators themselves to actually do a bit on the NFT. So there's a
Nice.
unique generative art event that happens on chain as well. And on top of that too, it serves as almost like a social badge of honor to say, hey, look, I'm contributing to the consensus mechanism of Ethereum. Here's my NFT, and et cetera, et cetera. And then there are other sort of things that one could do with that NFT. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's been the reason for the design, and it's something that's uniquely possible within Swell because of atomic transaction.
That's fantastic. In terms of how you guys, do you have a time frame for launch on Swell?
Definitely. So we're currently on testnet. We're on the private EVM blockchain, and then we'll soon to go to public testnet very soon. In terms of the launch, it'll be a couple of weeks. It'll be a couple of weeks, but we are trying to push for this month if possible. But yeah, we're not sure, but we do want to just make sure that things are working before we launch it more broadly. And the launch will likely be a soft launch as well. But yeah, very soon.
Cool. Lecky, it sounds like this has evolved from a side project into a full-blown public thing. What was it like? Did you have to rewrite everything from scratch to formalize this and turn it into what you've turned it into? Or were you able to utilize what you'd already built and what you were using for yourself into this full-blown platform and protocol that you built?
Yeah, it's actually utilizing our proof of concept that on the public version. So that's why we have built it so fast, and so that we can deliver it quicker to the market. And we're rolling out the product out in phases. That the first phase will be mainly on the staking side, and then the next phase will focus on the LP and the vault on the Swell ETH to ETH one-to-one pool, so that people can unstake from there, and then the reward calculation and the unstaking and claiming from there, which is make it essentially the same like pre-merge and post-merge. Like pre-merge, we can calculate the reward and then maintain the Swell Ether for the reward, and post-merge, we will have the Ether on the contract. Then we could just return the Ether rather than minting. And also people could be able to redeem Swell ETH to ETH. We've done a really good, enjoy the experience with runtime verification, that they done the audit even on the business logic. So it's a more complete product on the design and overviews. And yeah, so we have a clear picture on rolling it stage by stage. And then, yeah, we can't wait to roll it out, but yeah, still fixing some bugs, and yeah, hopefully we can roll out as soon as possible. Yeah.
That's cool. How are there more developers than just you working on the project, Lecky?
Yeah, we have grown the team from 2 to 12.
Nice.
It's split to half, that half engineering team, half growth and sales and marketing. Essentially, our principle is like building the product and selling the product. That's the goal. But we do utilizing the white label solution, as we are a marketplace for staking and node operator. So that with the white label, like basically on our platform, it's a two-step staking. You select from the list of a node operator, then you stay with them. But then with the white label, that people could build up their front end, just connect to like powered by Swell Network protocol, and then they could be one step, because people go through their website, will be stay with them directly. And then with the NFT, there's some lots of show and exclusive VIP can play around with, because you can detect the NFT that you know that the people have stayed with you. Choose you as an operator, then you can provide like exclusive access and a privilege. So there's many things that can become a more complete white label solution, that people can build their own product, set their own commission rate, and their own community and things like that. And with bringing the choice of a node operator, it encourages small node operator as well, that anyone can spin up, because it's a permissionless staking protocol, that they can even set like a zero commission way that's more competitive and more people would likely to stay with them, so that it encourages a more decentralized and more transparency on the Ethereum network as well. Yeah.
That sounds fantastic. And as you talk through it more, kind of the whole power of this white label node operators, I love the term marketplace because it hadn't hit me, even though you guys had basically said that previously. That's a really powerful dynamic for growth for you guys, right? The ability for people to become node operators that set a business model for themselves, and then others who want to immediately use a composable protocol that you're releasing to create their own brand for Ethereum staking. That's incredibly powerful and can give you the kind of exponential growth that someone just pushing one brand can't do. You can have 40 companies out there or projects out there promoting it themselves, which drives obviously more volume to you guys. And that to me is a really smart model. It makes a ton of sense. I can also see protocols that could do existing protocols in the DeFi space that could do integrations directly with you guys as well. So there's some provision to take rewards that are coming out being staked, convert them, and automatically stake them with you guys, so people are earning the additional yield on what they've already earned otherwise. It didn't really click for me completely until just now. Bailey, how's it going starting a community from scratch?
Pretty good. I've managed a couple communities in the past, so I definitely feel like Discord has been my office, and I wake up and just go on Discord every day for the past 2 years. Yeah, I feel like I have a good sense of what protocols, like what different communities have been successful, and ultimately how that's really what I look for personally when I'm looking for new protocols and products, is how enthusiastic the community is, how the community is managed, and all that. So yeah, just really trying to take the lessons learned from the best that I've experienced and just try to mix the best I can in terms of community wise that really just caters to a multitude of different users, from stakers to node operators to businesses.
And I think the cool thing for you is, look, I think we were already in a stage in DeFi where revenue stability was already becoming important. And now that we've hit in the last 72 hours, obviously, that we're completely into this bear market or whatever you want to frame it as, I think that kind of solid earning potential and the potential for people who are starting businesses around this protocol makes it possible that your community becomes a really strong, close knit community, because everybody's kind of everybody's building something together in terms of you're giving them, people that build a business, the opportunity, and people who are participating just as stakers with their one ETH, a vested interest in the protocol succeeding. So
Yeah.
I think that building community is never easy, but I think that makes the job a little more compelling in terms of persuading people that come take part in this. This is cool. And I think then it's just a matter of making sure you create a positive vibe for what people experience when they come in. So that's really cool.
Yeah, ultimately, the community is gonna own and drive the evolution of Swell. So that's really the goal, and with the community there.
That's fantastic. So I would feel a little remiss if I didn't ask the story of this incredible rock star lineup of investors in Swell. And I know you guys started with the seed round. Is that all you've done, or have you done another round on top of that? And then I'm just looking at this list, and it's truly amazing. And we have a lot of people that are protocol founders or people that want to start their own protocol. So whatever you're comfortable with revealing, I'm curious just how you guys ended up with this incredible backing.
So yeah, firstly, just around capital raising, the seed round was the first and only round that we have done. In terms of the backers that we have, yeah, I think we were always optimizing for trying to get the best in class people that could help us build this thing over the long term. And the backers that we have are that representation of that underlying sort of core goal. People that have done it before, people that know what it takes, and people that represent a mix of perspectives. And so as regards how did we get to that, we've been in the sort of deep into the Ethereum ecosystem for a while now. And if you do that and you convey and are true to the underlying principles of Ethereum, I think it attracts the right sort of partners. And then so as a result, we've been able to, and have been fortunate in having the backers that we do have, and we want to continue to build. And we're fortunate to say as well that they've been also sort of building alongside us, and that's great.
Yeah, there's some amazing experience here from everybody from Mark Cuban to Ryan Sean Adams, who are public figures, to people who have built some serious protocols, Synthetics, Balancer, Ren. I'm pretty amazed. That's a great team to have in your corner. I talked to a lot of founders, and no matter how good your plan is, things go wrong. And having people that have already been through that there who have an interest in you, that's really powerful. I'm thoroughly impressed with this group.
Yeah, definitely. And like even within our current set of core contributors, like we don't profess to know everything, and being able to sense check and get the right answer every time, and with the pace at which DeFi is moving, it's important to have those different views. So whether that's on the sort of the retail side, whether that's on the communication side, whether that's certain geographies, or having gone through the full build process, having gone through the full progressive decentralization process, all the questions that we just spoke about just now, many other people either have done it or they have a perspective on it that would be exponentially value adding to the protocol.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And look, Bailey was just talking earlier about the projects. When I look at a project, I look at the caliber of people who are backing a project. I look at the community and what's the energy like, and how serious is the community? Is it a bunch of moon boy stuff, or is it people that are actually serious about building and growing something? And that those are two big indicators for me that if I like a protocol and I like a concept, that I want to make an investment and be a part of it and take part for the long haul and join a community. I think that bodes really well. And I think that all of you have an approach and a philosophy to this, that you're strong believers in the ecosystem and what's being built. So I think that's pretty powerful. You mentioned earlier cross chain. Are you going to also be offering staking on other chains besides Ethereum at a later date? Is that part of the longer term plan?
Yeah, definitely. So for the rest of this year, our focus will be on Ethereum. We have a lot of like special innovations like coming down the pipe that we think will be really strong for the ecosystem. And at the same time, we do believe that liquid staking, in particular with proof of stake being the dominant consensus mechanism for L1s, it makes sense like from a business standpoint to move into different chains. It's just about the sequencing and the timing. And so we'll start to look into that more seriously in Q1 next year.
Nice. I think it's just a natural extension to move to do that, but obviously solidify yourselves on Ethereum. Is there anything else in terms of Swell that we've missed or that we haven't covered or that people should know about you guys, the team, what you're building, what's coming next? Anything else you want to make sure we cover before we start wrapping it up?
Yeah, sure. I'll just say comment on my side, and Bailey and Licky, feel free to jump on the back of this. Just for your sort of listeners, if you are passionate about DeFi and want to get involved, we are a DAO, and so we welcome community participation in whatever capacity. So feel free to join our Discord, follow us on Twitter. Yeah, and if you have any cool ideas or feedback or suggestions on where we could take this thing, really happy and open to listen to your feedback. Yeah.
Awesome. Bailey or Lecky, you want to add anything?
I'll just second what Daniel said. With joining, it's like it's open. Come join, come say hi, and share your ideas. Where our ears are open. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on the liquidity stuff with suites a little bit with the vaults and different
Sure.
options for yield in DeFi, because I feel like yeah, that part, there's a little more detail to that. I feel like it's good to highlight that with Sweep, the stakers will basically have the option, if they want, to go use and degen or lend or LP their suite on their own.
So you're
In
not locked
addition,
into using your vaults. If you want to, you could take it somewhere else.
yeah, so
Okay.
the idea is that the staker has the option, depending on the type of staker they are, whether they just want to set and forget, or if they really want to like do the newest yield farm, it caters to both those people. And then the vault will just be various different strategies. And we've been talking with different protocols to expand those. I've really high hopes and excited for the different vaults coming out for that, because we really plan on expanding it just from LP to lending to just even more complex strategies, options, yield vaults. So it's all the stuff that's going for that is really exciting.
Great. Lecky, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, just want to add that we are a marketplace, so there's a staker. So we welcome all the stakers and the node operator to check us out, join the community, asking questions. Like on the staker side, we have the highest yield for all the components, like the free component consensus reward. We have a highest yield because of the automated transaction that the reward penalty and slashing is not sharing across the network. And then the second component, that because we have the wallet integration, so it's a more convenient. And then the last component, that the main MEV reward, we also bringing back, will be from our research, will be likely the first one to bring back the choice of the node operator back to the staker. So that way, more likely the node operator will be redistributing the main fee back to the staker, as if they don't do it, then the staker will not stay with them. So all the component, we can bring in highest yield on the staker side, and also on the node operator side, we bring down the overhead for the verified node operator. We can do as low as 1 ETH, and for the unverified, we can do 16 ETH, but with the SSV network become mainnet, we can lower that to 1 ETH as well for the verified size. Yeah, and then we welcome people that are interested in our protocol. Check us out, and thanks for the time.
Yeah, the vault mechanism, as you, I'm assuming, is this going to be a managed strategy by the protocol, the vaults that are used in the vault mechanism, or is this going to be something where people like pick and choose which vault they want to be in?
Yeah, so the vault is actually similar like YN strategy, that you have a complete freedom, because the vault is like this could have an impermanent loss, have some potential risk, but it's an optional like yield farming option that you can maximize your derivative token in a lower entry barrier way, and more user friendly for a newcomer. Yeah, so you are free to rebalance your position. You can have 50% on vault 8 and 50% on vault B, and also backing the value of our governance token, that they can vote for new strategy, create new strategy, and complete freedom of there, that you can optional opt in different strategy, different positions. Yeah.
That's great. That flexibility is awesome. If somebody is going to white label or connect into the protocol and utilize it, is that something where they also need to be a node operator, or is it just they can leverage the protocol and be taking part in the marketplace with normal stakers?
So there's for the node operator, there's a verified and non-verified. Currently, the verified side is through manual KYC and manual agreement. Basically, we need a way to, like, instead of a collateral, we need a way to protect the staker, that they will be willing to back pay the if any penalty and slashing happens. Yeah, so that's the manual way. But eventually, we would like to move it to a more governance way, that we can, like, people can create proposal, and then there's voting, and if they get passed, then it become a verified node operator. So yeah, that's the value of our governance token. It can governance the fee, governance the node operator, governance the vault, and the fees on the vault, etc. It's very powerful on the DAO token side as well. Yeah.
Okay, so I asked this question to every guest on the show, and I'll just have each of you answer it. Who's somebody within the Ethereum world, the DeFi world, or a project, it can be a person or a project, that you think is critically important, or that you have a tremendous amount of respect for, and why?
Shall I go first?
Sure.
Yeah, I think the obvious choice is Vitalik.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Are there attributes of what Vitalik does that you lean to as being more important than others? His writings outside of Ethereum, or how he leads or doesn't lead, or what part of Vitalik's personality or style do you find important? Or do you just think because he's brilliant and he's managed to pull this thing off, that's why you have that respect for him?
I think it's really all the above.
Okay.
I think he's done a fantastic job in leading Ethereum where it is today, and I think he's the right person for that, and done it in a way that people like us are wanting to build and have it be core to what we do, and really how we spend the majority of our lives at the moment. Yeah, he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how much time we all put into this protocol that he came up with, and could have ended up being a layer on Bitcoin. So it's pretty amazing. Lecky, how about you?
Yeah, this is a really tricky question. I think it's a community that everyone's, it's not like one person can grow the whole consensus and community. Like, always people ask, like how to judge value on the BTC or ETH, or why it has value. It's basically a consensus, and the consensus is by the whole community. If we would totally like just by himself and not the whole Ethereum Foundation and everything, I think it's the whole community can drive it. Like recently, like Do Kwans are like people only see that like the downside that's on the projects, but I do see like the many good sides as well, that there is build up the community and scale up. So I think there's many people like the Bangless boys that are like build up helping out the community as well, and also Brad yourself also like helping to spread it out and getting the words out to build up the community. So I don't know.
No, I like that answer. I think that I think one of the most critical components of any project is the community, but the Ethereum community, if you really think, if you step back, like we accept this mass of the Ethereum community just as being there, but actually you're bringing up a really good perspective. If you step back from this thing and you think about the thousands of developers and the hundreds or thousands of projects being built and the people who are participating, the people who are advocating, it's a pretty significant thing that's occurred. It's difficult for me to think of anything not like politically oriented or country oriented that has ever happened that's this international. And that to me is an amazing perspective. That you're the first person to answer that way. And that's an awesome answer. I love that. I really do. That's cool. Very cool. Bailey, now you got to follow that.
Yeah, I was about to say everything he said first, but yeah, no, I would say personally for me, my man 0x Maki. I think he really, throughout my whole journey of DeFi, Sushi Swap was how I discovered DeFi back in 2020, and just how he embodies the spirit of DeFi and building in DeFi, and how it's an opportunity for the little guy and anybody, and I really align with that. And he's been personally been really helpful, like to me, and just like being there for me as well. So yeah, I think him and people like him that the industry really needs, and he's a great example.
Definitely. I got to tell you, I have so much admiration for that man, because not only what he did with sushi and saving it like the way he did, but he was one of my first interviews, and I have leveraged this podcast entirely based on his name, because he was willing to take the time to say, yeah, I'll sit and talk to you. And so I have a lot of gratitude to that man for being willing to do that, because I leveraged his name to get the next guest and the next guest and the next guest. And he is. And it's funny, when I interviewed him, we talked a lot about what it was like trying to decentralize and what it was like trying to get to that end goal. And I was so impressed with the way he was approaching it and the way he treated the team and the way he operated. It's just a really, really leading from a humble place, but also being willing to lead, which is difficult to do in this space. So that's a good answer. Good follow-up, man. That was great. That's great. Guys, I want to thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I'm excited about what you're building, and thank you for coming on board. I'll have in the show notes links to everything for you guys, but thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Brad. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, me too.